It is. It's what I'd like to be seeing. So it's
Right.
not surprising so much as it is satisfying.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. Ascalaphus from FORLESEN, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. The album's out for a few weeks now. Usually I talk to people as they're getting ready to release an album. It's fun to talk to somebody after the release. It's usually get a bit of a different perspective. You had time to digest that release cycle and how people have been responding, and people have been responding very positively. Your first album came out just as the pandemic was starting, so basically you were very limited by what you could do. And then 2 years later, you have the follow-up album, and seeing the response to that must feel good. Does that give you energy, or are you like, I need to sit in my couch right now and just calm down of all the work that went into this, and I need a break?
I think it's more just a need to keep working. I don't want to. I feel like it's easy to be so engaged with the thing that's on its way to happening that once it's out in the world, that it's easy to kind of feel a sense of letdown, not in terms of not getting the response you want or anything, but just having this thing that you're pouring all of your energy into, and just keep on working on new music at this point.
You are very much still in the early stages of this band. Were you surprised to see the album being picked up quite a lot, and seeing all these good reviews coming in? A lot of people were talking about the album. I've been playing the album a lot. Doesn't always happen for relatively brand new projects that, because of a global pandemic, had zero possibility to go on the road really and promote an album as you would 10 years ago, right? So was that a surprise for you?
I'll say I'm pleased. The origins of the band go back to 2016. So right. I mean, the end of 2016. But in that sense, it's been a process getting here, and this isn't the first band of anyone in the band. So on some level, I'm grateful to anyone that wants to, everybody that's taken the time to review it, to listen to it, to take it in, and but also it doesn't feel it's what I'd like to be seeing. So it's right. Not surprising so much as it is satisfying.
Yeah, I still think it's definitely one of the better albums of the year. And like several people, I tried to define the album, right? And so I looked into my notes from a couple of weeks ago, and what I had written down was, at the core is doom metal, but the result is a bleak yet a vibrant mix that is hard to define beyond. It just works really well. And I've seen so many creative ways of people trying to figure out, how do I actually describe this band? First of all, how many different descriptions have you seen by now? And is there one for you that was just the funniest one to read?
Funniest. I'm really just interested to hear how people experience it, and I don't want to tell anybody that their experience of it is right or wrong. If people try to pigeonhole it, then sometimes that feels a little bit limiting. Some people have described it as, I guess the ones that I haven't really gotten is if people have described it as primarily a black metal band or even death metal. But I mean, there's maybe a little bit of that in there, and especially with the black metal, that's definitely
For sure.
that is more ingrained in there.
Now, when you say like, oh, yeah, I can understand that some people see this in us or what have you. Does that also mean that you kind of, as you're creating this music, that there is not that blueprint that you think of first, that that the music takes you on a journey, as the songs take the listener on a journey? Because this album is 4 very epic songs, and there's a lot going on, and almost every song is a whole story, both from lyrics and from a music perspective. Does it just flow that natural then? You don't build a plan, or is there some level of idea like, hey, we would like to take the sound in this direction?
Yes. It's I think it's a bit of both. I certainly have genre reference points, and I have bands that are clear points of inspiration for me. And I also, it's not originality for originality's sake,
Right.
but it is frequently looking for I'm inspired by the overlap of finding overlap where others might not expect to find it, and so sometimes it's not like it's that crazy of a overlap to find, but like between bands like Low and like doom metal, like it's not that I mean, anybody that's really listened to Low, and spent much time with their catalog knows that they can be crushingly heavy. It just doesn't fall into the metal category. So, I think at the beginning of the project, we started off with the idea of minimal and dark,
Okay.
and kind of soundtrack-ish or soundscape-ish. That has evolved to not always be quite so minimal, and maybe I still think that the denseness of sound is still really important, but I think it evolved from just being primarily ambient driven into the first parts that we wrote for the first album were ambient, and then that kind of flourished into it feels like this could go into, not that the ambient part isn't a song, but that it could go into something with drums, something with drums and vocals and all of that.
Sure.
That more rock based.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I'm not answering your your question, but I think it's really a sense of all of the things that can possibly overlap within that. That can be sort of folky stuff that or kind of slowcore. That can be black metal. That can be doom metal. That can be like soundtrack music and or I don't know, various 80s stuff or goth or all of those things where it feels like there's some common element between all of them, and those will all kind of work their way in. And so it can be. I feel like the path of inspiration is frequently finding the thing that maybe we haven't done yet, or that feels unexpected in the moment, or just and it's not just unexpected for the sake. There's the unexpected, and then there's also that horrible certainty.
Now that you mentioned that, the horrible uncertainty and or the horrible certainty, really, of the fact that life goes on and time is an unstoppable force, and the melancholy that creates, that seems to be interwoven with this album, and to be one of the major themes of both the music and just the whole journey you take us on. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, I think that's valid.
Yeah.
You know, the universally human and therefore the transcendent.
Yeah, there you go. Which then also I find is, and I guess you'll agree with me, but I think Benjamin Veerling beautifully captured that in the artwork for the album, because that came out pretty special.
He's an amazing artist. Feel very, very fortunate to get to work with him, and yeah, couldn't be happier with the final result of the artwork in both cases.
Want to zoom in a little bit more on that storytelling nature of the music. You mentioned some, music and genres that have inspired you. Not just with the epic storytelling, but also obviously with your artistic name. Clearly, you're inspired by ancient mythology as well. Obviously, Ascalaphus being part of the Greek world of heroes and gods and demigods and so on, and I assume was represented in the owl shape on your previous album, or was that just a fun coincidence as well?
I would say that was not the only intent with the album cover.
Okay.
That's not. Oh, there's me.
Now, the mythological figure of Ascalaphus, not the happiest necessarily of stories. So what draws you and the band to those stories? I mean, I hope that you've never been thrown in basically as a supernatural jail for most of your lifetime. And been turned into multiple animals, but
in looking for a warrior name, I selecting an owl that dwells in Hades. A miserable owl felt appropriate. That said, the Greek pantheon does play some significance in my life outside of that. Less so so specifically to Ascalaphus.
Regardless of the direct lineage between certain mythological tales, these four epic stories that you've created on this album, when a band comes out with an album that has long songs, that can either be the recipe to create the most impressive stage performance, or that could be an extremely difficult thing for a band to build a set list if you want to take this on the road and introduce a new audience to your music. So I would love to see this music on a stage because I fell in love with the album. I hope to see you guys play this music. What can you share with us about what your plans are for bringing this music to life?
The plan is that there is a plan. There is. We have tentative plans for it to begin happening next year.
Awesome.
And with that, some of it is a matter of choosing a set list that is going to be translatable live. There is, I think we compose without the idea of, without really holding that as a restriction of kind of like, oh, could we play this live, and really just think about, how dense and lush can we make this, and how can we make this most interesting, and then thinking about what are the elements of that are really going to be needed for that to translate live. I think I think we have a rough idea what that set list would be right now. But yeah, having songs of that length, of the length that we do, it depends on, how long of a set time you get. But really, it would likely be, I mean, if we had an hour to play, which frequently you don't, that would still probably top off at, at 3 songs.
Exactly. Well, that's I guess that's just the reality that several Doom-inspired bands have to live with. But I do hope that we get to see some announcements then for the new year, and I hope very much that those announcements might include some shows up here in Canada. There we go. Us too. Ascalaphus, I want to thank you so much for sharing about the band and your story and answering some of my questions here today. I really enjoyed the release, as you clearly know now. And like I said, I hope to see you guys play some stages in 2023 that we can come check you out. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of this release cycle.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been great to talk to you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.